Coming up on UCF Nightly News, find out why some students are pushing back for unwanted charges.
We'll show how UCF celebrates the arts at a distance.
Learn how a study ranks Orlando as the most dangerous city for pedestrians.
Nightly News starts now.
Good afternoon and welcome to Nightly News. I'm Giulia Silva.
And I'm Sean Green. Today is Friday, March 19th, 2021. A man charged in a recent murder at Plaza Apartments has a court hearing set for Monday. 23-year-old Mauricio Antonio Castro entered a written plea of not guilty this week. Prosecutors charged him with second-degree murder with a firearm for the killing of Jesus Armando Calle. Police say the shooting happened at Plaza Apartments on January 3rd during a fight. Nightly News will keep you updated on this case.
The UCF Police Department wants students to be aware of a scam in their email. The email notifies students of a part-time job position for pet sitting. It also tells interested students to send a message to another email using their private email. The UCF PD tells students who receive the email to report it to UCF's Information Security Team by emailing details to sirt@ucf.edu. Junior economics major Tanner Smith says this scam email was so convincing that he almost responded.
Which is pretty scary because if I did, I could have had my personal information maybe stolen, or I could have even shown up and been kidnapped.
The UCF PD says that legitimate emails will always come from a ucf.edu address and will not ask for a response using a personal email.
Students are signing a petition to stop UCF from automatically billing students for textbooks. 700 signatures and counting has been collected to stop the system. Reporter Giulia Silva will tell us more about the petition and the different perspectives on it.
UCF currently has a program that gives students discounted course materials called First Day. With the current opt-in system, students have to choose if they want to be a part of the program. However, because of new laws, universities are now allowed to choose if they want an opt-in or opt-out system. With an opt-out system, students would be automatically enrolled in the program and would have to manually opt out if they don't want to be a part of it. Sophomore civil engineering major Ian Bain is one of the students who agreed with the petition to stop UCF from switching systems.
It prevents from people who don't need textbooks from being automatically charged if they forget to opt out or don't know they have to opt out or such, especially for people who are new to UCF.
According to the petition website, under an opt-out system, students would have no choice before they are billed once they enroll in a course. According to UCF officials, students who have participated in the discounted course materials program, First Day, have saved an average of 48%. UCF's Director of Strategic Communications, Mark Schlube, says that UCF has made no decisions on whether or not they will change the system.
As we make this decision, we are considering what's best for students and we're considering student opinions.
Schlube says that later in the year, a detailed report of the varying opinions will be given to university leadership to consider the options. He added that until then, the opt-in system will remain in place.
UCF Nightly News will keep you updated on UCF's decision about whether to keep the current opt-in model or shift to an opt-out model.
New leadership will soon take office in student government. Meg Hall and Austin Wilson have won the 2021 student government election. It was announced on Wednesday they won, receiving 55% of the vote. Together, they promise golden days are ahead. The pair says as acting in office, they plan to go beyond UCF. They will advocate at a higher level by speaking with state representatives and even go to Washington, D.C. Hall and Wilson will begin their transition into office in early May.
UCF Celebrates the Arts is returning this spring after canceling the event last year. Several changes have been made during the pandemic to keep the show going. Nightly News reporter Robert Husby tells us more about these changes.
UCF Theater canceled last year's event shortly after the start of the pandemic. Performances moved remotely through Zoom until this semester. This year's event will be less than 2 weeks long, with most performances held outdoors at the Dr. Phillips Center. UCF Director of Orchestras Chung Park says it's inspiring to have live entertainment back.
There's nothing that replaces the electricity of having an audience there. You have to, number one, you can't screw up because you got people there watching you. You want to play well for them, and especially if they're your family, that only heightens that kind of desire to succeed.
The event will still feature a mix of virtual performances, but there will be indoor performances as well. UCF Performing Arts students will play in front of a live audience for one of the first times since last spring. UCF Director of Bands, Dr. Scott Luberoff, says these students have held strong during an uncertain time.
They have been champs and they have not complained about a thing. They have paid attention. They've done everything they've been asked to do and then some, and they do it happily because, again, I think they're just happy that they're together.
The event begins April 2nd with shows running through April 10th. Tickets start from free to $50 depending on which show you're attending. UCF Celebrates the Arts is Theater UCF's first major event since the start of the pandemic, as live theater in Central Florida looks to make a comeback. In Orlando, Robert Husby, UCF Nightly News.
Tickets can be purchased through the Dr. Phillips Center website. Reservations must also be made for virtual shows.
Spanish, Latino, and Hispanic are all among the many labels put on a community of many different backgrounds. UCF sociology professor Fernando Rivera describes a journey of understanding what it means to be Latino in America. Nightly News reporter Sade Teal tells us more about the journey.
UCF sociology professor Fernando Rivera describes the journey to embracing Latino-ness as one that allows people to understand how differences can unite people. With UCF being a Hispanic-serving institute with more than 19,000 Latino students enrolled, Rivera says it is important for Latino students to embrace the term Latino.
There's a representation where I think is important out here. And, I think that's key in terms of that, and finally embracing, right? You learn that people see you as X or Y at the beginning, and that's sort of the start of the discussion that we need to have in terms of making sure that we understand our differences, but we also celebrate our similarities.
In an effort to unify, Rivera started the Puerto Rico Research Hub, which pushes to connect countries abroad to UCF. UCF Student and Research Hub Coordinator Maria Grisales says the Research Hub is very important to her.
The Puerto Rico Research Hub, what it actually means to me is it's not only like a hub for Puerto Ricans or Puerto Rico research, but it's also a hub for Latinos or Hispanic individuals that just can come together and correlate with one another and share ideas.
Rivera and Grisla says they have come to embrace the term Latino and use it to gain connections and build opportunities.
Rivera says it took a while, but his journey to becoming Latino has allowed him to understand how differences can unite people, and he hopes Latino students can do the same.
Orlando was ranked the most dangerous city in the U.S. for pedestrians. Dangerous by Design is a yearly study conducted by Smart Growth America and the National Complete Streets Coalition. 9 out of the first 13 cities are in Florida. Colonial Drive, just 3 miles from the main UCF campus, is one of the 4 highest areas for pedestrian crashes and fatalities in the Orlando area. UCF International Politics sophomore Lexi Butler says she is not surprised by the report.
So when I'm driving, you can definitely tell that you're driving in Florida. Florida drivers are notorious for just driving fast, just driving crazy. So yeah, Orlando is definitely a result of that.
Story. Head over to nsm.today.
Hey Robert, walking in today, it felt kind of chilly again. What's the deal? I thought it was warming up.
Yeah, Giulia, wacky weather season is here again in Florida. As we see, it is currently 72 degrees outside here in Central Florida. The past few days have been touching 90. We're back into the 70s. Our humidity really is still a little bit moderately high, as we see humidity is 68% today. And then we have winds moving west-northwest at 12 miles an hour. So a little bit of a breezy day as well. And we have a low chance of rain at about 10%. So definitely our weather here in Central Florida is getting a little bit weird as we head into this weekend. So definitely want to pack for a little bit of a breezier afternoon today and as we head into the rest of this weekend. Back to you guys, Julie and Sean.
Coming up, we'll check in with NSM sports editor Nick Geddes to get an update on the web.
Plus, find out how new studies show on domestic violence increasing due to the pandemic. A new study co-authored by a UCF professor finds domestic abuse has increased during the pandemic. The study shows domestic violence incidents spiked more than 8% nationwide in just 1 year. UCF Knightly News reporter Tina Brito tells us more about what the community can do to help these women.
A report released last week by the National Commission on COVID-19 and Criminal Justice found an 8.1% jump in domestic violence since the beginning of the pandemic. One of the study's authors, UCF professor Katie Kappelman, says this is an alarming increase.
We had been in a decline over the last almost 20 to 30 years in domestic violence. So right around the early 1990s, when we started having hotlines, domestic violence shelters, the expansion of mandatory arrests, we really were beginning to make inroads to reducing domestic violence. And so this does pull us back a little bit.
Kappelman also says the study finds are only the tip of the iceberg of what's really happening. She says many women do not report domestic violence because they are afraid of the consequences.
Home is where they should feel safe, but for some women, home is where they feel worthless, anxious, and scared.
Kappelman says the stressors of the pandemic, such as high unemployment rates, makes it even harder for women to leave an abusive home. Bethany Becks, a researcher at UCF's Violence Against Women Faculty Cluster, says the pandemic also created what she calls domestic violence perfect storm.
Domestic violence happening at certain levels, but then it's exacerbated by COVID and suddenly becomes much more higher levels of severity in terms of injury and other risks.
Becks is currently working on a project to build housing for domestic violence survivors, a place where they can go and finally feel safe. In Orlando, Tina Brito, UCF Nightly News.
Researchers say the most effective way of helping victims of domestic abuse is by validating their feelings and believing in what they say.
Now, let's see what other stories you can see on the web. NSM Sports editor Nick Geddes tells us what to check out.
Thanks, guys. This week on NSM, check out how a UCF student uses social media to help her pay tuition. Also, see how the Campus Activities Board will be hosting more events than previous years. And in sports, look how former football player Brandon Marshall hosts a combine for college athletes, as well as how the bounce house will look like for fall. That's all I have for you this week. Check us out on the web at nsm.today.
Thanks, Nick, and you can head over to nsm.today to check out all of those stories. When we return, find out how people here in Florida may cause more floods.
And we will take a look at the weather forecast for the upcoming weekend. For those looking for a new place to take photos or even a place for a peace of mind, the Arboretum is a new seating area for students to enjoy. Nightly News reporter Beatrice Oliveira tells us more about the green space.
Big things are coming to the Arboretum as they are set to build an Instagram hotspot for UCF students to enjoy. The team of students have set a goal to finish the build of the new pathway in the next 2 weeks. Samantha Hodge, a student, staff, and leader of the new pathway, said that she decided to create the project to make a bridge between the two different environments.
Everybody at the Arboretum loves the environment and loves kind of being outside, and so we wanted to create this space where it'll draw millennials in and something that'll kind of connect with everybody, where you don't necessarily have to love the environment to kind of come spend time out here.
So hopes that the pathway can light up a spark in students to learn more about nature. The other goal is to have it done for the upcoming UCF graduates to have a new place at UCF to take graduation pictures. Tracy Alt, a horticulture intern and student at UCF, stated that the creation of the pathway is because they wanted students to have more experience with the Arboretum.
Ready for graduation to kind of get people excited about it. But by Thursday, we should have the pots at least with the plants done, so then before spring break happens, we'll be all set, so students will be able to come out and enjoy it.
The team of 3 is currently finishing the last touches to the pathway and will soon start planting. In Orlando, Beatrice Oliveira, UCF Nightly News.
The hotspot is located between the Arboretum greenhouse and trailer. For more about the hotspot, keep a look out on social media.
A recent UCF study found humans are changing coastlines and causing more flooding. The increase in sea level may even have a negative effect on the economy in years to come. Nightly News reporter Sade Teal spoke with the lead researcher and UCF economics professor Thomas Wall about the effects humans are having on waters.
Changes to coastlines through developments in shipping ports are likely causing more invasive flooding. UCF professor Thomas Wall said human alterations can cause tide changes and lead to forced sea level rise. Wall says humans' long-term decisions dating back years has everlasting effects on flooding.
Sea level rise, of course, is also man-made through global warming. But changes in tides are also man-made, sometimes because of decisions that we made 100 years ago by deepening a channel. And now we have to maintain the channel depths because we want the ships to be able to come in and go out.
Invasive flooding, also known as nuanced flooding, doesn't cause major damage, but it can overtake roads, back up storm drains, and wash over sea walls. Incidence of nuanced flooding has risen 100% since 30 years ago, reports the National Oceanic Administration. UCF professor and coastal researcher Christopher Emmerich says flooding will negatively impact the economy based on location.
$1 in Miami Beach is not the same as $1 in South Miami Beach, right? $1 in Jacksonville is not the same as $1 in the Big Bend area. Like, the impact of disasters is felt different in different places across the state and across the nation.
Wall agrees there is no way to stop sea level rise altogether, but says there are many seaports that are only bringing in about 2 to 3 shipments a week. Wall recommends closing these ports to ultimately help level out the tide and reduce sea level. In Orlando, Sade Teal, UCF Nightly News.
Nightly News will keep you updated on any new UCF coastal research being released.
Robert, you told us about the weather out right now, but how is it looking across the entire state?
Yeah, and for the most part, it's looking pretty cool in the rest of the state as well. As we go to the northern part of the state, as Tallahassee and Jacksonville are sitting at 64 and 68 as their highs. We move to the center of the state in Tampa and Orlando, sitting at about the low 70s, Orlando 73, Tampa 70. Moving to Miami, Miami's the outlier, 82. Pretty warm today as their high. We'll move into the lows as we see Tallahassee and Jacksonville 55 and 59, so pretty cold up there. Tampa's cold as well, 53. Orlando, not much of a drop-off, 72 as the low here, and Miami, a low of 57, so there is a pretty significant drop-off there. We'll take a look at the 5-day forecast here in Orlando. 68 degrees tomorrow with a low of 57, stays cold. Move into sunny part of the week as we see Sunday a high of 76 and a low of 59. Monday 77, low of 59, pretty similar there. And then Tuesday, Wednesday, we're back right into the 80s. 83 is the high on Tuesday with a low of 62. Wednesday a high of 88, low of 67. We see not too much chance of rain Saturday is the highest, 23%, Sunday 16%, Monday, Tuesday 7%, and Wednesday 12% chance of rain. So really no need to pack anything for the rain. If you're heading out for a picnic this weekend, this is the way to do it. As we move into the later part of the week, we see we can probably start packing for the beach as we're back into the 80s, close to the 90s. Back to you guys, Giulia and Sean. That's all the time I have left.
When we come back, the women's basketball team is dancing into the tournament.
Plus, check out the first week of UCF football practice since the Gus Bus pulled into town.
Hey Knights fans, I'm Jaret Kappelman and here's your UCF Sports Update. The UCF Knights baseball team takes the field tonight against Jacksonville University in a 3-game series. The Knights head into the weekend on a 2-game win streak, their most recent win coming Tuesday night against FAU. UCF is coming off a slow start this year, starting 7-9. Head coach Greg Lovelady said that the team needs to work on finding what their identity is and sticking to it. He also said the team needs to stay within themselves and not try to do too much. The first 2 games of the series will be in Jacksonville, but Sunday at 1 p.m. the Knights take on the field at John Juliano Park. The UCF women's basketball team is going dancing. The Lady Knights made the March Madness tournament with an at-large bid. The Knights did fall in the American Conference Championship against longtime rival USF 64-55. UCF will be the 10th seed in the Alamo region and will take on 7th seed Northwestern. This is the highest seed the Knights have ever been ranked in program history. The ladies take the court Monday at 4 p.m. in San Antonio, Texas, and enter the game as the underdog. Nightly News will follow the Knights throughout their March journey. UCF football is back in action as they open up spring practice this week after seeing a lot of changes this offseason. The new era is underway for the Knights, and Nightly News reporter John Whitley has been covering them throughout the week.
The Knights opened up practice on Monday for the first time with head coach Gus Malzahn at the helm. Malzahn says early in spring football he is pleased with the team and is looking to continue to build on a great week of practice.
I like their attitude. Really, I liked their effort. I did tell them we got a long way to go, but that's the fun part. The key is going to be where we're at in 15 days. And really, the guys are just learning the standard, learning how to practice the expectations.
The Knights will close spring football with the annual spring game here at the Bounce House, where the first team offense will take on the first team defense. This will be fans' first time to see the Knights play under Malzahn. Malzahn does say they need a great turnout from the student body. The Knights return junior quarterback Dylan Gabriel. Gabriel said he's looking forward to learning from Malzahn.
He's someone I look up to, and he's a role model, you know, just the way he handles himself, the way he holds himself, and also just the way he speaks to others. You know, he's very loving and caring, and you know, he told me he's going to coach me up the hardest, so I'm ready for it, and I'm excited for it.
The 2021 spring game is expected to have the same health and safety precautions as the fall 2020 home football games. In Orlando, John Whitley, UCF Nightly News.
Malzahn says he is pleased with how quickly the team is grasping the new offense. But unfortunately, that's all the time I have for you this week in sports. Now back to you, Giulia and Sean.
That's all our time for right now. Thanks for joining us. Remember, you can always keep up with us during the week on our Twitter at UCF Nightly News.
And hey, if you got a story idea you want us to know about, send it our way. You can reach us at nightlynewsucf@gmail.com. Thanks for watching, and charge on.